Who doesn't love a good team-up? This week, Luke Cage and Iron Fist give you tips on being a superhero in the freelance world. This is the Super Black Podcast. Hello once again to all you heroes and villains. This is another edition of the Super Black Podcast. And I'm your host, Carl Waldron. I want to thank you for joining me today. We're going to have a really fun time. It's going to be a great topic. You're going to love it. I swear it. I swear it. Okay, I'm very sorry. I think I came on a little strong, so let's pull it back and let's get into the topic. This week's topic is, drum roll please. I do not know who I'm asking for a drum roll. I'm the only one here, so... The Luke Cage and Iron Fist top 6 tips for freelance superhero success. Eh? That's a mouthful, but it sounds pretty cool, right? In retrospect, hearing it out loud, saying it with such verve and vigor, I think I added too many S words in there. But through the power of editing, I will leave all of it exactly the way I said it. Number 6. Use superior tools to make you as productive as possible. Now, in the world of superhero-ing, the tools you have are whatever gadgets you may carry around, like Batman, or your super speed, like Superman, or if you're referring to our heroes for hire, Luke Cage and Iron Fist, you could have super dense skin and super strength, like Mr. Lucas Cage, or you can be infused with a dragon's power, like Iron Fist. Now, being nigh indestructible like Luke Cage and a kung fu master infused with the power of the Iron Fist like Iron Fist, you have the tools to fight crime. I mean, I would think so. If you can take a bullet to the chest like Luke can, or if you can dodge bullets and then kick somebody in the face so hard they sneeze their own nose out of their butt, I don't know, then you are highly equipped to fight crime, which these two do as a duo for money, which is also kind of weird. But let's keep it moving. Tip number 5, bridges. Build them, don't burn them. You are going to need allies out there in the field. You can't just run out there fighting crime by yourself, maybe run into another hero like Luke Cage ran into Iron Fist and just beat him up and then leave him there. You got to make friends, guys. You can't burn these bridges. You can't leave a team like, let's say, the Avengers, and then go off on your own and then expect, and like just cuss them and this and that, and I'm stealing the printer, and you leave the office, the Avengers office, and you go out on your own. What happens when money dries up and you need some help and you have to save somebody for some cash, some quick cash? You save a cat out of a tree for some kid's lunch money. That's sad, man. You can't do that. You need to keep those friends close. The only way you're going to get more clients, people to save, is if, let's say, the Avengers are, they're out there fighting aliens, and then they get a distressed call from somebody in the inner city, and those people need help. They get on the phone, they call you. You're a freelance superhero. You can go out there, you get the cash, you make the save. Everyone loves you. Your name gets out there. More people start calling you to save them. You got to play that angle of it. So always remember, keep your friends close. Go out and take your enemies for drinks so they become your friends as well. Don't burn bridges. If you leave your own super group, go shake hands. Don't be edgy with them. Say, okay, it's been fun. We've saved a lot of people. Remember that time they dropped the building on me and you saved me? Get a good laugh. Let's grab a coffee. I'm out of here. Awesome. And always remember, if you run into a superhero out there, like Luke ran into Iron Fist, make friends. Because you never know when someone will join you. They'll be like, oh, what you doing? You're a freelance superhero? I'm a freelance superhero. Let's team up, man. We can do this. And then next thing you know, you have your own trading card. The good thing about Luke Cage and Iron Fist is they have a very extensive network of people they can call on for help if things get out of hand. They have people like Misty Knight, the former cop with the bionic arm. They have the Avengers. They have Daredevil. They have Spider-Man. That's a great pedigree of friends to have when you're a superhero. They didn't burn bridges. everyone's still cool. The Heroes for Hire aren't stepping on anybody's toes. They're helping people. Their friends are helping people. It's a big network of heroes saving heroes. And that's all this is really about. Number 4, look the part. Be professional in every way possible, or poop. However you want to say it. P-E-W-P. I like poop because it's a poop joke. So, anyway. Luke Cage and Iron Fist definitely look the part. Now, if you've ever seen Power Man, which is Luke Cage's alternate name, I think it's from, the 70s? The 80s? 70s. Like 1977. Power Man's outfit is basically a yellow jacket with blue pants and blue superhero boots. You can imagine what that is. He has a nice, funky silver bangle going across his wrists and his forehead. The one on his forehead comes to a point by his brow. And then he has an afro with some really bitchin' sideburns. And Iron Fist, whose outfit has never changed. As far as I know, his outfit has never changed from a yellow bandana mask that covers the top of his head, some weird vampire-like collar that's yellow. He has a dragon tattoo on his chest, a bright green jumper with yellow boots, and no gloves because when he activates his Iron Fist powers, I'm sure he burns his gloves clean off. So this look alone will let you know that they are serious about fighting crime. So serious, in fact, that they went out and got stylish 1970s outfits. Now, that's the one thing I love about at least Luke Cage and Iron Fist. I admire Iron Fist's dedication and consistency to that ridiculous outfit. And Luke Cage, well, he gives up his more 70s outfit for a more boring outfit these days, where he's just a black guy, really. If you take a look at any pictures of, let's say, the Netflix show that's coming out, Mike Coulter, the soon-to-be Iron Fist, he's just a normal guy. I'm sure he's very strong, and someone will shoot at him and the bullet won't do anything, but there's no defining features of Luke Cage these days. But the 1970s Luke Cage, where I understand he's a corny-looking character, it's been noted many times before, but there's something endearing about that outfit and that version of the character. That Power Man, he's interesting. It's like all those old comics are like blaxploitation films. If you really read them and just, I would suggest everyone pick up the Epic Collections Power Man and Iron Fist Heroes for Hire. It really reads like a movie. It's ridiculous. It's very old comics from the 70s, and I'm enjoying it. It's hilarious. But yeah, if you're going to be a superhero out there, you got to look the part. They totally look the part. If you saw them in the street and you needed some help, you'd probably ask them, because no person in their right mind would wear those outfits if they weren't able to beat somebody up. Number 3, save for rainy days. Now, there's a tip we can all take to heart. You never know when hard times are going to fall on you, especially if you're a hero out there trying to make a living. One example I can think of, and this is a spoiler for the new Captain America book, so spoiler warning, 3, 2, 1. So Sam Wilson, as the first black Captain America, has no backing from the government and is not getting funding to be Captain America, which I didn't know Captain America actually got funding from the government. Oh, I guess from S.H.I.E.L.D. So Sam Wilson is not backed by S.H.I.E.L.D. So in the Sam Wilson's Captain America #1, he's broke. He's not making money. He has the facilities to be Captain America, but when stuff like getting around comes up for him, he has to actually take commercial flights because he's not making cash. Apparently, it doesn't pay to be Captain America. He didn't save his money. He spent it all on really random things I can't remember at the moment. But he's on Delta. He's not even in business class. He's in coach. He's sitting between two fans of Captain America, which is really funny to think of. This American icon can't get like a private jet. He's a superhero, but he didn't learn the lesson. He didn't save money for a rainy day. Luke Cage and Iron Fist are out there on their own trying to save people and pay rent. Well, not so much Iron Fist again. He's rich. But Luke Cage is. He lives in Harlem in the 70s, and then later on, I believe I think he still lives in Harlem in the most recent ones. But you got to make your cash. You never know when people are just going to be cool, when the cops are going to do their job and they're going to save everybody that they need to. And then Luke Cage doesn't need to be around. What does he do then? How does he make money? You can't just. I think he takes a job as a security guard at one point. The man has a plan. Luke Cage knows what he's doing. He's out there. If he's not saving people, he's always saving people. He was a security guard. He's always in the thick of it, doing his thing, using his skills to make cash. That's what you got to do when you're out there on your own, especially if you're a superhero. Spider-Man is another one. He's a freelance photographer, or at least he was. I don't know what he's doing now, but he was making cash on the side and doing hero stuff, freelance all willy-nilly. Granted, pro bono, he had a job, but his side gig was superheroing. You have to think ahead, guys. Got to think ahead. If that means making money on the side as a reporter or some sort of billionaire philanthropist, if that's going to be your side gig so you make some money, do that. Just pick something sensible. Number 2, use a contract. Can't stress that enough. You have to use a contract when you're out there superheroing. What if you get there and they don't pay up? You're pretty much registered lethal weapon. You can't go beat them up, and that's just not the nice thing to do. You can't. That's not how civilized society works. You beat up the people who tried to beat up your client. You don't beat up the client. That doesn't make sense. But you have to protect yourself as well. So when you get there and the crime is happening and they're looking for your help and they say, whatever your name is, superhero, it's me, your client. Please come save me from such and such so-and-so villain who's got me strapped to this train tracks. You walk up to that client and you say, I'm here to help you, but please sign this contract stating that I will do this job for this amount of money and I will be paid at least half of my fee up front, so as a security deposit, and then I will complete your rescue, and then at the end of that rescue, you will then pay me the remainder of this contract. We will part ways, and if you require services from me, I will be more than happy to save you again. You got to protect yourself when you're out there, people. Get a contract. Get a superhero contract. If you go to superblack.co, there will be a superhero contract template there for you to download and use when you're out there on patrol and someone needs your help. Okay? Just go to superblack.co. I'm here to help you guys out. I want to protect superheroes too. You protect us, I'm going to protect you and your money. And finally, the number 1 tip in the Luke Cage and Iron Fist 6 tips for freelance superhero success is know your worth. You always have to know your worth. You charge based on what you can do. Always know how much you're worth within the economy of superheroes around you. So Luke Cage might not be able to charge as much as Thor, but Thor is a god. He can demand more money because he controls lightning. Luke Cage is going to charge a little less, but he's going to be more hands-on. He's going to be there for that client, and that's going to get repeat business. You're going to get the clients who need, really intimate work, whereas like Thor is going to get world-saving stuff, really big Chitauri clients, people coming out of vortexes in the earth, while the Luke Cages and the Iron Fists and the Daredevils of the world are going to work smaller. That's just what's happening. But the more you can give, like let's say if Luke Cage just sort of became 90 feet tall and his strength was proportional to his size, and his skin got tougher, he can charge more money because he can do more stuff. He can take care of more problems. So if you're a superhero out there, you don't know your worth, see who's around you. See the competition. See what they're charging for their freelance superheroing. You know, how much do they charge to stop that duo of, jet-packed, ice-shooting elves who are robbing that bank? How much did that other superhero charge to stop those guys? You know, can you stop those guys? If you can, and you can do it faster than the other guy, and you can do it with less collateral damage, and maybe you call the cops first, you know, maybe you recover all the stolen doubloons that they were taking, you can charge more than that other hero because you're doing more and you're doing more efficiently. Now, if you see number 6 using your tools, using your superpowers to take care of all the problems and make you more efficient, you can charge more. See, you have to assess your abilities. You have to assess the abilities of the people around you and charge accordingly. And of course, always get paid on time, every time, all the time. Those are the 6 freelance tips for superhero success from Luke Cage and Iron Fist, which also marks the end of Side A. It's time for a break. We'll be right back with Side B. Stay tuned. Oh, and welcome to the break, my friends. Again, thank you for listening to the Super Black Podcast. I really hope you are enjoying this week's crazy freelancer tips. I thought doing something like this would be a little more interesting than the normal, and this is the powers that this guy has. So it was inspired by the fact that Luke Cage and Iron Fist are the heroes for hire. They are actually legit freelance superheroes from the 70s and 80s. They're still around, but that was a time where they were doing the most work as, independent superheroes, getting paid. I actually have a screenshot. If you go to superblack.co and look for this post, if you are getting this through iTunes, or any of the other places that have it, head over to the website. There are screenshots there of Luke Cage actually getting paid to fight crime. It's a thing that happens. There's money exchanged, which I always thought was weird. Like you don't think about superheroes getting paid to fight crime. They just do it, right? They're always written as these, holier than thou, saintly creatures who just fall ass backwards into powers and then use it to help people. And then there's the other side of the villains. They're the ones who get paid. They're the ones who rob and steal with their superpowers and get money. You never hear of superheroes just outright asking people to give them money to save them. So it was an interesting idea that the writers took to do that. And the fact that Iron Fist is actually a billionaire or, some really, really rich guy, and he's teaming up with this broke guy from Harlem to fight crime, and then the broke guy is actually getting paid to do it by the victims. It's a weird dynamic, and it's really fun. I would suggest, since this is the break, I would suggest that you read the Epic Collections Power Man and Iron Fist. It reads like an old blaxploitation movie, which is very endearing, and it's actually quite funny. The terminology is great. The thought bubbles are as exposition filled as you might expect, but they're all hilarious. If you really think about it in terms of a movie and you read it as if you were going to watch it on screen, it is one of the funniest and exciting books you can read. I'm actually enjoying myself quite a bit. There's a lot there, so there's a lot of content for you to get through. I'm thoroughly enjoying it. So count that as a recommendation in the break. Let's see. We are on iTunes now, so you can find this podcast on iTunes. If you have already found this on iTunes, thank you for listening. Please rate and subscribe. That'd be great. You can find this podcast on TuneIn. So if you have an Amazon Echo, just ask Alexa to find the Super Black Podcast for you, and we will be right there. We are on Spreaker, Spreaker. That's the thing. we're on there too. There's multiple ways you can find this podcast, and any way you find it, I really hope you enjoy it. Please share it with a friend. Head over to Twitter at SuperBlackPC or on Instagram, SuperBlackPC. There's content and all those places for you to check out, interact, send questions to superblack.co/contact. Oh, there's so many things you can do to get in contact. There'll be daily polls. I should say weekly polls for the podcast, so you can interact with me and I can answer your questions or, read your responses. I want to hear from you guys, so make this podcast your own, not just me talking into the ether. Huh? So thank you again for listening and enjoy the rest of the show. What's up, everybody? You are joining me, your host, Carl Waldron, with a very dear friend of mine, a very talented man, a freelancing man, a big shot in the animation world, Mr. Aaron Brewer. How are you doing, buddy?
Ew, I don't know if I would go big shot.
I said you're a big shot. Just accept it. Allow it to happen.
Well, it feels like a stretch. Just a tad.
Hey, I stretch every day, man. You got to keep nimble.
Medium shot. That sounds about right. Sounds accurate.
Even medium shot is fairly good in the freelance world, because there's a ton of people out there just grinding and got nothing. They got no way to make it. They're just like, I don't know what I'm doing. So we're here to help. Kind of. Not really.
It's always a struggle, man. It's always.
It's hard out there, man, because there's a lot of competition. Like,
yeah, there really is.
How do you deal with all the competition out there? People coming over and trying to step on your dreams, trying to make, trying to take work away from you, trying to take food out of your wife's mouth, not even just your mouth, your wife's mouth.
That's a really good question. How do you deal with them? I don't know. It's not like a face-to-face thing. You just you present what you got. You put your best foot forward, and you generally speaking, it's not a very cutthroat industry in what I do. I mean, animation. So we all kind of help each other. So. It pays to be friends and network. So we, whenever I meet a fellow animator, we exchange cards and we look out for one another from then on. If I like the cut of their jib and they do good work, if I come across a job and that I can't take, or I'm doing it and they need more people and they ask if I know anybody, then I'll refer the person that I just met on the previous gig, and it kind of extrapolates that way. So, and it goes down the grapevine. So like if they're at a job and they have a friend who's looking for work, but that person can't do it, so then they'll refer me. So, it's always like a, 2 or 3 degrees of separation, or 4 or 5, it's networking, man. So it's not super competitive in that sense, where, it's me and some other dude sitting in a room with the director,
battling it out.
Right? Yeah, we're sealed on the floor in between us, and he's like, "All right, whoever."
Oh, please let that happen at some point. That would be amazing. Just like, I'm just here to animate, man. It's like,
yeah, like fuck that, man. It's not that serious. I'm out.
Fight for it. The door is locked. I've taped the key to my genitals.
Yeah.
I think that escalated quickly, and I don't want the job. I don't want it.
It's not that serious. Nope.
So, with all your knowledge, I've brought you on the podcast because you were a good friend. You're a very smart man. You're a nerd like me, because we have our weekly Arrow and Flash nerd outs.
Yeah. Good episode, man. Woo, good episode.
Yeah. We don't spoil it for anybody, but yeah, we are giant nerds. So I thought you can help me out with this question. I'm going to pose a scenario to you.
Okay.
I give you superpowers. Better yet, I give you Luke Cage's superpowers. Now I'll tell you what. I will tell you what his superpowers are right now. He possesses superhuman strength and stamina, and he has extremely dense skin and muscle tissue. So he can't be like, if he gets shot, the bullet bounces off. If he gets hit, he can take a lot of punishment, pretty much. I give you those powers. He has cellular regeneration too, so he's like a Wolverine, and I think the cops are coming by to collect whoever he just beat up.
Okay.
So yeah, you get these powers. You have Luke Cage's powers. You can even have his afro if you want. I know you're aching to have some hair.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
You have his hair. You have his old Power Man suit. You are now Power Man, and I tell you that you have to make a living being Power Man. How do you go about becoming a freelance superhero? What do you do? What are your steps? What would you do, taking all the information you know about getting work? What would you do?
Ooh. Yeah. You gotta find your market, man. So where is a man with your skill set most needed? He's a talented fighter, right?
I mean, he's a brute. He's
a brute.
He's not very gifted in hand-to-hand combat. Well, at least the older version of him wasn't.
Right.
Like the newer version that they have these days, he's more competent. But the older version, he was just a guy with strength, and he was a brawler. He was like a guy from the streets. He's from Harlem,
Yeah.
He gets dirty.
So, I mean, you could start with some free services just to get your name out there. I guess cruise the streets looking for trouble, save the day, and have a business card that you can just hand out. Tell your friends.
Oh man.
Yeah, from there, it's maybe a phone number. It depends on what kind of exposure you want to have. You could do a website. There's always that thing with superheroes that they want to keep their identity secret. So, how much information do you want to give out? Is it just a phone number to a burner phone that is not connected to your personal life, and that way you can kind of keep it separate? But then, either way, it's a matter of contacting your market and then telling them or showing them what you're capable of, and then giving them a means of contacting you. So, for future needs, just give me a call and I'll come and kick some dude's ass for you.
I like the idea of Luke Cage like patrolling the streets and like a lady's getting mugged, and he takes the dude down and he turns over to her. He's like, "If you like my services,"
you like my right.
He hands her a card with like a picture of his afro on it or something. He's just like, give me a call next time something's going down. I'll help you out.
Just for a fee, of course.
Of course, I got to make a living. I got rent. Yeah, it's hard out there. He's like,
yeah. And then you can, because you're new to the game, and demand is still low. You keep your prices low, and then so as popularity grows, and you just it's too much for you to handle, then you start raising your prices. So when that happens, then your clientele changes. Maybe you don't work as much. Is he a goody two shoes? I mean, is it all about the money? Is that what we're doing here?
I think he is all about the money. I think based on his personality, and I'm going solely on the 1977 way more interesting Power Man version of him. He's just out of jail.
Okay.
He had like a very blaxploitation vibe in those comics. So he was very much trying to make a living, scratching, scraping. So I know there was I was reading one of the older comics, and I think one of his first like heroes for hire gigs was given to him by the cops because they couldn't handle a particular villain. And they said, "Hey, Luke, if you could do it, you got the job." And him and his partner Iron Fist went out and whooped some ass. So,
oh, okay, yeah, totally. If there's other villains running around, then that makes it super easy. I mean, you just show them, kick one of those dudes' asses, and voila. And for future needs, just give me a call, and I'll just show up and so, then you've got your whole. It's like so you're like a what do they call it? When you work for the cops and you're
CI, no
informant, but not quite. It's like you're
private investigator
for the cops. Yeah, kind of. They have them on shows all the time. You're not a private investigator because the private investigators usually work for the client, but not for the cops.
That's right.
So like the cops, depending on the particular case or scenario, they bring in a specialist. Maybe it's a specialist.
Wow, yeah, I do not watch Law and Order. I am unfamiliar with freelance police officers.
Clearly, clearly.
Yeah, I'm terrible at that. But you mentioned networking. I know that was a big thing for you, getting your network big so you know people. Mm-hmm. I'm going to throw a wrench, not a wrench, but I'm going to give you some help. Let's say I walk onto the scene. I am Iron Fist. I am a ninja. I have the power of the Iron Fist. It's basically like he's infused with the power of a dragon, right? So his hands are super fast. Like he has incredible agility. He can dodge bullets and all this other nonsense. He's a master martial artist. He can power his chi. Like he can concentrate his chi into his fists, and then with that, like smash shit. Pretty much, just like beat stuff up. You know, he's a dangerous dude. I'm a dangerous dude. I'm Iron Fist. I come on the scene, and I'm also very wealthy. Okay. And I'm your friend now. How do we network? How do we make this team up work? Because Luke is still broke. You're still broke, but I'm rich. But I'm still going to help you fight crime. Like, what do you do in that type of relationship?
You take advantages of his skills. Maybe you combine to take on bigger jobs. If he's rich, he probably runs with a rich circle of associates.
Yeah.
So that's a whole market that you probably wouldn't have had access to just coming straight out of jail. So that's something you totally would do is jail, man, to start hanging out with your friends and, at their rich, fancy parties and wait for one of them to get mugged or, I don't know. I mean, they've got their own set of problems and that could be resolved with your particular set of skills.
It's funny you mentioned that because actually one of the stories when he got acquitted, when Luke Cage got acquitted of his crime, he didn't actually commit a crime. He went to jail for a crime he didn't commit. Of
course, right. Wrongly accused
black man. So he comes out and Iron Fist throws him a party with all these socialites. And, of course, the party gets interrupted by two idiots who are claiming that Luke Cage is still guilty. And Luke Cage ends up saving a bunch of socialites. And one particular woman, this rich lady, they drop a wall on top of Luke Cage and the woman. So Iron Fist is like, oh, Luke is dead and that lady's dead too. That wall fell down because they were all so dire in those comics. Everything was, oh, he's dead. There's no way he could survive that. We're like 3 pages into the comic. He's like, oh, I can't believe they dropped that building on him. He has to be dead. And then they show the next panel him picking the building up. He's like, man, if it was like 2 inches closer, it would have crushed me. But oh man, thank God for my super dense skin. I was like, oh God, I love this. So he picks up the wall off the lady and he says, hey, are you okay? And she looks down and she goes, I just broke my nails. Like I just got these done for a photo shoot. It's like, and then he proceeds to violate her by kissing her without her consent. This is from the 70s. He goes, here, you can take that. Hopefully that makes you feel better. I was like, reading that. I was like, man, this would not fly today. This is not the climate for that sort of thing, Luke. You keep your hands to yourself. She did not say yes.
See, he just ruined a perfectly good business opportunity right there.
Right?
You could calmed her down, slid her a business card, said, next time.
Yeah. He had nothing else. Next time.
What do you say? What do you say to that?
But
sorry about your nails.
Yeah. If next time someone breaks your nails on purpose, you call me and then I'll come handle it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, baby.
Yeah, that's exactly how he talks in that book. I'm going to send you screenshots. I'm just going to tell you which book to get. And you have to read that. It's amazing. It's like watching Dolomite. It's ridiculous. So I had this thought about the top 6 things you can do to be a better superhero freelancer or a hero for hire, and the I think it was the second one is use a contract.
But use a contract.
Yeah, use a contract if you're going. Let's say he hands out a business card, and then somebody calls and they say, "I'm being mugged right now, and somehow they didn't take my phone away from me right now. Can you come down and help me?" Does Luke then rush out the house with a contract and pen?
Yeah. So that's tough. So There's got to be some sort of. Ooh, that's tough.
There's got to be some sort of like
maybe you stand off to the side while they're getting their butts wet. I mean, you show up to the site of the beat down and you say, you know, I'm going to need your social security or your or you know some sort of information.
I need your signature on this piece of paper right here, saying that
maybe writing is too hard. So maybe like an oral contract.
I don't know, man. You need like a recorder or something.
Yeah,
you got to catch an email. Or a text.
Like that they're under duress or something like that.
Like you forced me to say yes. He's like, no, what I need you to do is I need you to say you are a soul, mind, and body, and you the undersigned, hereby known as the victim, require the services of this hero for hire, better known as Luke Cage. Please sign here, date here, and just hold the villain back. Like push him up against a wall, just give us a second. And if he is in any way a freelancer, well, he has to be a freelancer. He's out there trying to make money too. He's robbing this lady, so
right.
he's got to stand to the side. He's got to be like, okay, he's handling his business. Let's give him a minute.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I understand. Just handling business, just like, all right, no, date and initial here. Thank you very much. And
that's not going to work.
It's not going to fly. It's not.
Yeah, you maybe like a thumbprint. Maybe you can get. Maybe that's easier to get in the middle of a beatdown.
There has to be an app. There has to be an app for it.
Yeah, you got to give me your bank account information. Like have that stuff ready. Like I need your account, and then I'm standing on the side. The beatdown, transferring money into my account while you're getting your ass beat.
Waiting for something to clear, like the bank is going to get back to me with your number.
Or you can, if after maybe you don't completely incapacitate the bad guy, and maybe you just knock him out, and then you do the money exchange with the victim. But if the victim doesn't want to pay you, then you knock the victim out. The villain the thief will wake up before the victim does, and then so he can then continue to rob him and then get away.
Or you can carry smelling salt. So you knock him out, but only so hard. You got to really know your power limit, and then carry the smelling salt to revive the guy. And then once you're just like, look, I have this smelling salt. I need you to sign this stuff, or I'm going to wake this guy up.
And let him continue to beat the crap out of you. Absolutely. Yeah. That works. That's how you do it. Boom.
I think we figured
contract it out. Signed.
Yeah, contract signed. Your life is now saved. I am protected. My income is protected. My livelihood is protected as a superhero because I am out for myself.
Yeah, and then you get you run down the list of charges. This guy had 2 knives, so that's going to be extra, and he had some martial arts skills, so that's going to be another tacked on fee. Yeah, and there were 3 of them, so multiply that by 3, and it took me how long? I think 20 minutes. So I pay work by the minute.
Yeah.
So,
I didn't even think about the extenuating factors
of the
fight.
This is a business. This is absolutely a business.
Yeah.
And how much is your wallet worth to you, sir?
Exactly. And do you charge for your power level? I know that this is like a knowing your worth kind of thing, but you're not Thor. Thor is a god. He can command a lot more money. He has the Avengers on his side. They have their own little network of things. They wouldn't have to charge money because they have Tony Stark. But if he ever so chose, he can command more money than Luke Cage. But
right. Of a threat that you can handle. So if Thor's taking out 3 dudes in the alley, that would take a couple seconds, and it's almost beneath him. So, why would he waste his time when that kind of stuff? There's so much of that, and he's, I don't know, it's kind of like, they're like ants to him.
Yeah.
So,
and it comes back to networking, because if Luke Cage is friends with the Avengers, they can pass that stuff on to him.
Right, exactly. You're like, we're too busy to handle this. You take care.
You and Iron Fist head out there. You let Iron Fist swing his legs and hands around and do some damage. Mm-hmm. You go let a building fall on you and pick it up like it was nothing. Mm-hmm. And then, make your money. Oh man, I'm having way too much fun with this. and the thing I love about it the most is that these are all legitimate freelancing tips for people. If you are a regular person looking to freelance, use these tips because
absolutely
you have to know your worth. You need to network. You need a contract.
If you want to get paid.
Yeah, if you want to
guarantee that you'll get paid.
If you want to not end up in a room with some sort of sword in the middle of the room and you're fighting with some kid who just got out of college.
Yeah, thirsty.
You gotta
angry.
You gotta protect yourself. All right, man. Thank you for coming onto the podcast. Hopefully, we'll have you on again. I don't want to take any more of your time, and we'll talk about Arrow and Flash right after this. And with the power of editing, we go to the next segment now. All right, everybody. It is time for a very special new segment to the podcast, Community Questions, or polling the community. I don't know. I don't have a name for it. But the cool thing is I reached out to you, the fans, you, the people out there on the internet, to answer some questions about this week's cast. And I actually got some answers back, which is very humbling and very cool. So the two questions that I posed to the community were, number one, what would you consider is the most important tip for freelancers to find success? Pretty straightforward. And number two, what advice would you give a superhero like Luke Cage or a super team-up like Luke Cage and Iron Fist looking to go into business for themselves as makeshift heroes for hire? Let's dive right in. Ray J. from Brooklyn says, for the first question, be willing to put aside any and all fears and reach out to everyone. Communicating with a network of professionals is key. It's a great way to reconnect with people, and it also puts you on people's radar. How are you going to find work when no one knows you're looking? Goes back to networking, people. You need a giant, vast network of friends and colleagues and fellow creatives or creatives. You're all creatives. To reach out to you and for you to reach out to, because if maybe you're the person who has a lot of work and you can give it to somebody else, like, hey, I know this really cool X, Y, and Z who can do such and such. I'll pass this job on to them. And you can be the person on the receiving end of that. Got to network, people. You got to network. And what advice would you give a superhero or a super team? This is her. Well, I don't think it really has to do with superheroes, but I'll read it anyway. She says, F fear and be okay with failure. The former will cripple you, so it's best to get that out of their way. Not an easy task, but everything's a process. The latter is usually inevitable, but should be embraced and seen as learning opportunity. Use that fuel to try again. Not sure what any of that meant. Maybe it's because it's late. I'm not sure, but thank you, Ray. You are an amazing person. Next up, Daniel B. states, networking, and more networking. Just like dating in the internet age, play the numbers. We got another person who signs off on the networking. You got to know people. Just went through a whole spiel about it. Just get out there. Get on meetup.com. Find some groups. Meet some friends. Just get out, really. Just get out of the house. You can take this podcast with you, on your phone. So you can still get out of the house and listen to the podcast. Don't abandon me. Don't leave. And as for his superhero advice, he says, if you want to be a villain, running for Congress or being part of a Fortune 500 is the most profitable thing to do. I agree with you. If you want to be a hero, stick to the shadows and stay off social media. That way TMZ will stay out of your hair. Truer words have never been said. You can't be on social media as a regular celebrity. Imagine you had superpowers. Forget about it. They'd crucify you. Terrible. I have some legitimate freelancer advice from a Mr. Jeff F., engineer of creative identity. Thank you, Jeff, for writing in. Jeff says, pay a great deal of attention to your own gut instinct. It will always be one of your best business and life advisors. That's trust your gut, baby. That's good advice for everything, not just freelancing, but for life. And for his superhero advice, he says, always look at others in your industry as peers rather than competition. If you take the competition position, you will always be looking over your shoulder with concern and perhaps a dose of panic. Adopting the peers attitude brings about sharing, collaboration, and inspiration, combined with a focus on the future and moving forward to better yourself, others, and the specific industry. So I'm guessing he's saying, be cool, and you might run into someone like Iron Fist if you're Luke Cage. They're a decent team up, you know. He didn't see him. Well, actually, he did see him as a adversary at first. And at least a lot of the comics I read, they butted heads a lot for random reasons. Like one book, they'd be buddy and best friends, and everything's great, and then another, Luke Cage is punching Iron Fist in the face because of some misunderstanding. A lot of misunderstanding in those old books, just chock full of them. It's ridiculous. I got a nice message from a user named Daedalus, who kind of went on, but I think one of his said his first answer was, "Don't budge below what you think you're worth," and then he goes on to say a lot of negative stuff. But I think his first sentence was very apt. You know, don't go below what you're worth. That's what I'll take away from the rest of that. I won't read all that. And he actually makes an interesting point with his superhero advice. I'll paraphrase, but he says you can't be a hero if you're charging people to save them. You know, if you're working towards peace should be its own reward. Which is a very, I like that thought. You know, if you're working towards that, you shouldn't be begging for money. You know, you just do it because it's the right thing to do. Thank you, Mr. or Mrs. Daedalus. I hope I accurately portrayed your message, and let's keep it positive. You know, this is all about being cool. And then, last but not least, I have a message from someone who asked not to be identified, even though they put their name there. And I know them, so we'll get that out of the way. The answer to what would you consider is the most important tip for freelancers to find success? And this person says, see, now here's something I can contribute since, you know, I actually freelance and have found a decent amount of recent success. I've heard the best advice before is don't take any advice. While that seems detached and possibly dejected in a certain lens, there's a bit of truth to it somewhere. I won't even speculate on what the truth could be, but I encourage any individual to search for it themselves. Cheers. And what advice would you give a superhero like Luke Cage or a super team up like the Heroes for Hire if they're going into business for themselves? I have no idea. I have no superpowers, nor am I a hero in any type of way. Why would you ask me this, Carl? How about you answer that? I asked you because I thought it would be interesting, and you took it to a place that you normally take things to. We'll call it the J Zone. Thanks. He goes on to say, I mean, aren't they considered mercenaries rather than heroes if you're charging for those services anyway? So while you did come in hot with that answer, you actually do make a very valid point. They are no longer heroes. They are mercenaries. They are working for money. Well, technically all freelancers are mercenaries, but I guess the deciding factor is there is aggression involved in what Luke Cage and Iron Fist do. So, yeah, they would be considered mercenaries. Thank you, person with whom there will be no name. I really appreciate you getting in contact. And that, my friends, is going to bring us to the end of this week's Super Black Podcast. It's been a real treat I've had a lot of fun doing this episode, and let's do some house cleaning. If you've liked this episode, please go to iTunes, rate, and subscribe. Please give me 5 stars. I would really appreciate it. It can get more people into the podcast. We can have more fun things to do. More polls are coming. It should be fun. On Twitter, at SuperBlackPC. On Instagram, this is new, at SuperBlackPC. On Facebook, at SuperBlackPC. You only have to remember that one line, at SuperBlackPC. It's all the social media stuff. It's perfect. Head on over to Twitter and Instagram. There's content there. If you have questions for the podcast, send them, go to superblack.co/contact. Fill out the form. I will get your questions. You can read them on the cast. This has been the Super Black Podcast. Full stop.